Hey guys, this is GD3123 going over a deep run in the New Jersey sites Sunday majors from a few weeks ago. One is the NJ Championship of Online Poker event. It was a $100 event, that's the one on the left, and the other was the $200 40K, which is the Sunday major for WSOP New Jersey, the one on the right. So we'll start off here. I'm just going to go through the hands I played and try and make this a short hand history. We open with King Jack here in the WSOP tournament. I make it just a little over 2x. And I end up getting 3-bet here, and this is a spot where I mean, back in the day I used to just jam this all day every day, but it's slow structure on WSOP and people don't 3-bet too wide, so I just decided to fold. And on the left here I decided to 3-bet ace jack suited and just get it in with this guy who opened. If he did choose to get it in, I just figure it's the easiest way to play the hand. I couldn't jam it because the big blind was pretty deep. And so I fold the King Jack to the 3-bet, just giving the guy some credit. He could certainly have been 3-bet folding there with a decent range, but I've been giving the 3-bets credit a lot lately, or trying to. It's hard for me. I'm used to playing the Poker Stars in full tilt, and where people just 3-bet so wide that it's hard to fold to them. But this hand I have about 26, 27 blinds with King Queen here to a late position open. I don't know the best way to play this hand. I just jam it. I like to try and make the game as easy as possible. I know this is a profitable jam. Might be slightly spewy in some people's eyes, especially in a slow structure like this tournament where you have a little more time to wait. But King Queen's such a strong hand, and if he has a hand like 5s or 4s, you know, he'll probably fold them. And even ace 10 he might fold. You know, so I'm just gonna jam it and try and take the pot, and luckily he doesn't wake up with a hand. So anything under like 27, 28 big blinds with King Queen into a late position raise, I'll usually just jam it. Jack Queen, we again open to about 2.1 times the blind, and we end up getting that one through, so pick up a couple pots there. We don't play a hand for a little while. I was pretty tight in these two tournaments up until the end, just because it's a very slow structure and I had some aggressive people with stacks. Here's a very interesting spot with King Queen again. I have my opponent to the right, who is a very aggressive player and a good player from my knowledge. I haven't played with him too much, but he seems like a decent player. I could have 3-bet here, but he may be the type of player that just 4-bet jams me or snap flats me, so I choose to just call, try and hit a flop, and I miss it and I just check fold. Again, kind of a weak way to play it, but we have a very slow structured tournament here. I try and keep that in mind when there's 15-minute levels in this WSOP tournament, and they don't skip too many levels. So I try and keep that in mind and realize I don't have to take every edge, and I don't have to be super aggressive. I do have these tough players to my right, so I don't have to play against them out of position all the time. So there's a weird spot with King Queen. I'd be interested to hear other people's thoughts on that. So on the left here, they complete from the small blind to the big blind. I just check it back with Queen 9. He checks it to me. I have a gut shot straight draw. I think it's an easy bet here. Try and just take the pot down now. I do have some outs, and he just folds. So next hand I'm going to play, we have Ace King in the NJCOP event. certainly playing. So this is an easy ISO. He goes in for a small amount. We just make it about 2.5 times his bet. Just want to get heads up with him, with likely a dominating hand. Don't want to let anyone else in, at least for cheap. Looks like we raise. Oh, looks like we were thinking about raising ace-3 there under the gun, six-handed in the WSOP tournament, but did not. So I don't mind that. I don't mind not raising either. I must have just. Sometimes I just get in modes where I'm really aggressive, and sometimes I'm not. So maybe I think obviously it's a fine open or not. Ace-King is against King-Jack and loses. Not a big deal. Next hand we have ace-7 offsuit. We raise to our standard amount, a little over 2 times the blind. We get flatted by our good buddy So Effin' Sick. He's a tough player, tricky player. I'm not sure what I'm doing here with this bet sizing. I often just am in my own head while I'm going. This is weird because I might induce him to do something crazy. He has a lot of Broadway cards in his flatting range, king-queen type hands. I'm not sure what my intention there was with that bet. I actually don't really like it. I don't get a lot of information. I might induce. I don't think I was folding though. You know, I mean, with that bet and his stack size, I think I decided I wasn't folding, so I was going to make it real small, and either if he did something tricky on the flop there, I was just going to go with it, and if the turn blanked, if he called and the turn was a blank card, I might have check piled him, something like that. I'm sure that was what was going through my head. On the WSOP hand, before I flatted with ace rag offsuit from the big blind. I don't like playing out of position on this site too much, but it was a wide open, and queen 10-10 flop again. It's kind of a weak play at flat and then just check fold, but not terrible. Trying to play small ball. I don't like playing out of position too much, which is why I don't like my flat with king-queen earlier from the small blind. I don't like my flat with ace-3 offsuit there. I'd rather just 3-bet and take the lead if I'm going to play the hand. But for the reason of that day, I flatted. Looking back on it, I prefer that if I would have 3-bet both hands and just taking the aggressive approach. So this guy pretty much shoves all in on the NJCOP. We have king-queen, so we just put in his last couple chips, race him off, and we hold. So pick up a little pot there. That's cool. So the next hand we play is ace-4 suited, it looks like. This is a hand I'm probably going to raise. I'm thinking about it. I can see, these guys are going to 3-bet me. Oh, what should I do? Yeah, I think you got to raise it here. And this tournament, getting deep, you got to try and get chips one way or the other. I like ace-4 and 5 suited. I like the wheel potentials rather than like ace-6, ace-7 suited. But these guys were 3-betting a lot, so it was kind of an aggressive table, so I can see why I didn't want to raise, and I guess I got 3-bet again here. Yeah, I just folded. Alright. Yeah, I think that's fine play. So far the small blind has 3-bet me twice when I've had decent hands, and they're both players that I can see possibly 3-betting light, so definitely possible that one of them did not have it, if not both, but also possible that both of them had it, and I made decent, fine laydowns, but just try and make the best choice at the time and move forward. So we have ace-queen here, and we raise it. and take it down. So the next hand we have tens, and we raise it. We just fold 9-4 offsuit, small blind to big blind here. Small blind to big blind is getting trickier to play these days because big blind flats so wide and they float so wide. They just play you tough, and if you have absolute rags and you're against a player who might play you pretty tough, I just fold. I mean, I'm just done losing chips to tough players out of position with rag hands, especially ones that don't like to fold. So there's a hand I could have raised on the button, but with my stack I just opted to fold it. Looks like I was in a very patient mood on this day. And again, I think that has to do with the levels and my stack size. If I had more chips, I wouldn't be as patient. So here we have king queen with under 15-16 blinds, and I just choose to get it in. And instead of getting it all in, I'm gonna make it kind of weird here. I'm gonna make it like 3.5x under the gun. Maybe psych out someone with a hand that is like ace 10 or ace jack that may call me, or I don't know, ace queen. I don't know, maybe hand like 9s or 8s may fold because this action's a little strange. I know that if someone did this to me, I would think twice about a hand like ace queen or 8s or 9s. I'd be like, ugh. We have a section in the courses and lessons on US Poker School that talks about being able to escape coolers when someone does something weird. So I try and do some weird stuff instead of shove all in sometimes when I don't have it and when I have it, depending on who's at the table and who's seen me do what. So this next hand I have, pretty short stack with ace 9 offsuit, and I think I just gotta jam it and hope it gets through. And I don't really want to see someone call me because they'll likely have a better hand if they do call me, but you gotta get chips. Ace 9 from the cutoff with this stack size I think is a shove every time. I know it's profitable shove. I don't know if it's optimal, but I'm pretty sure it is. So I ship it, and we got the big blind folds. We take that down, which is cool. Ace jack suited the next hand. Again, just ship it. We got under 20 bigs. You could raise and call off. I don't suggest it just because you get a lot of people flat with weird stack sizes in this game. And the New Jersey sites, they flat a lot. So I would just ship it, and with this hand, I think it's a pretty easy decision. And we get through. So let's see, the next hand we end up playing is pocket 10s in the WSOP tournament. Again, especially because I've been shoving a lot, I'm going to shove here. I don't mind just raising, just minimum raising here, trying to get a hand like 2s or 3s to play back at me or shove me all in or something. Because of the fact that I've shoved the last few hands because my stack says, I'm just going to stay with that and shove it so I just look consistent basically. And it's just the easiest way to play the hand. So I mean, again, I'm a big proponent of making the game simple. Just simplifying it and moving forward always. The game can get pretty tough sometimes, so the simpler you can make it sometimes, just easier and less stressful it is. So we got our buddy so effing sick getting it in there under the gun. Unfortunately for him, we have kings in the big blind. He's got a super short stack, so he's going to be getting in pretty wide here under the gun. And we get a walk with our king 3 in the WSOP tournament. That's pretty cool. So I think it's So we get a caller. That's cool. Juice makes the pot a little juicy. So we're gonna raise it and isolate this guy, or isolate so effing sick. We're just gonna fold the rags SB to BB on the WSOP tournament, and apparently we got a call with our kings. So the pot's pretty decent right now. It's a great flop for kings, so I think we're just gonna try and bet and for value, and we don't really mind if he sticks around, but he doesn't. So that's a great pot. GG. Just so effing sick. I have no doubts we'll see him soon. So ace queen suited in the 40K. And again, you know, we don't have a really big stack to mess around with 13, 14 bigs. I just ship it, you know, get it in. Ace queen is one of my least favorite hands too, so I just like to see people fold. As you can see, I've been playing pretty tight and pretty close to the vest in these two tournaments, partly because of my stack size has left me a little handcuffed. Another reason is because some of the players on my table have been 3-betting me a decent amount, so they haven't really made it my opens. My opens haven't really been successful, so I'm trying to adapt and adjust, at least in the WSOP tournament. And I think the third reason, again, is that slow structures, oftentimes I'm more patient in them. I've heard arguments the opposite way that makes sense, that some people play more aggressive in slow structures. Sometimes, you know, I do that, but I think with all things put together, I was taking a very passive approach in these tournaments on this day. So I raise up ace-7 offsuit in the party poker tournament. And I think the WSOP tournament paid 10,000 to first, and the NJCOP paid like 5 or 6,000 to first, and we're pretty deep in both of them at this point. The WSOP we're really deep. I don't remember how many are left at this point, but we get flatted with our ace-7, so this is just a continue bet on this board. You know, if he has a hand like pocket twos, hand like ace-4 suited or something, like he's just gonna fold. Hand like king-10, he'll fold it and just make the game easy and c-bet. So he did fold. That's great. So yeah, there's 17 left. Winner got 10,000. One of my favorite tournaments on these sites actually is this $200 weekly 40K. I won it a few months back before they joined with 888. So now we have ace-2, and somewhat of a tricky spot. If he shoves, I mean, I would probably. He limped, so it's an easy shove for me. I mean, if he's trapping me, he's trapping me. I don't think that happens that often. A lot of people psych themselves out, think that people are limping and trapping, and sometimes they are, but I mean, not often enough, so I just get it in. And now we have aces, and no messing around. I'm not trying to give away my hand by reminning him. I'm just going to get it in. He's got a strong hand if he's opening under the gun, so play aces fast. If you think they have a strong hand, don't let him get away from tens if a king-queen board comes out. And he has kings, so that's really unfortunate for him and really fortunate for us. And this is typically how you win tournaments, by the way. Nice aces to kings with 2 tables left. So, that was all skill, obviously. We move on to the next hand. We were last in chips before that hand, so that was just much needed. The next hand we have king-10, very next hand. And this guy's been opening a decent amount, and it looks like I was about to fold, and I head faked, and I decided to make a 3-bet. And I think this 3-bet looks pretty strong, especially after I just won a big double up. Typically players don't want to risk the chips that they just won if it was a big amount. So I'm just hoping that, you know, he doesn't have a strong hand and that he folds. You know, I don't think that he's going to come back at me with a weak hand. He's just going to have a strong hand or not. And he does, so that's great. And then the next hand very next hand we have jacks. So now we're on a little rush, picking up some chips. raise it up. And we get no action. So, but we pick up some more blinds, which is cool. So now we're going to start playing a little more aggressive. Maybe have a 3-bet or 2 and open a few more pots now that we're nearing the final table bubble, and we have some chips to work with. Fold the queen 2 suited, king jack. This is looks like I'm going for a 3-bet here. So I'm gonna squeeze this 3-bet. So I'm gonna make it a little over 3 times, like 3.5 times the bet. I don't mind this play. It's alright. It depends on how much the guy who flatted the 4,000 flats, I think it makes this a good squeeze or not. So if he was flatting a lot, then I think it's good. Again, you gotta get chips somehow. And king jack's a good hand to flat there though, so I wouldn't have minded a flat, but I chose to squeeze and I got flatted. It would have worked against the other two maybe, but this small blind flatted me, so I have put him on a hand like 10s, 9s, jacks, or you know, something like that. He's got to have 9s, 10s, jacks. Probably has jacks with this play, even though I have a jack blocker. Maybe he had queens, seeing a safe flop. So that was unfortunate. I don't think the play was bad. It's arguable. I mean, it's a decent hand to flat call with in position. Next hand we have ace jack suited. We raise it up and get no resistance, and they fold, so that's okay. In the very next hand we get queen 10 of diamonds. Time banking, maybe we were on the bubble, I don't remember. It's very annoying. It's one thing I really don't like about poker is the time banking stuff. It just makes the tournament so much more turbo at the end, so much more shallow stacked, but I get it. I wish that these sites would pause the clock during bubbles. So everyone folds and we raise it up with suited Broadway cards. Pretty hand. See a pretty nasty cooler ace king to aces in the 40K. So we raise 4s at a short-handed table. We get 3-bet with our queen 10 suited. Sorry about this, my phone's ringing here. And yeah, we just fold the queen 10 suited to the 3-bet. We've been respecting the 3-bet a lot on this specific day. Here we have jack queen offsuit, and we just ship it over a button raise, hoping that the button doesn't have anything. We have 20 big blinds or so, so pretty easy shit. Unfortunately, in the WSOP, we get a walk with aces. That is never fun, but we get queens the next hand, and our jack queen reshove got through. So 20 big blinds, reshove on a light opener. If he did have a hand, we play pretty decent against his range. Now we have queens after getting a walk with aces, so we're going to 3-bet this guy for value, try and induce him to do something crazy with a weak hand. I 3-bet at 2.5 times his bet, and he just snap folds. So good decision. So I just make a little note that this guy does a little bit of raise folding with short stacks. Some people don't do that. It's not bad or anything. It's just I think it's actually good in a tournament like this to try and do that with a slow structure. Anyway, we open king 7 suited on the button and take it. I think it's important to take notes on sites like these because I don't do it enough, but it is important because you see so many of the same people, and you always got to remember that they know that you know that they did that, and there's a lot of that meta game stuff going on, head games, but it's still wise to take those notes. Jack 9 suited is a great hand in the big blind here. If he raises, I'll defend it every time with these stack sizes, as long as he raises it to a reasonable amount, which he does. So we call and we flop middle pair, so we're not going anywhere. We're likely ahead of him here almost every time. And he checks, and I don't mind betting here, but I think I'd like checking back a little more, keep the pot small. We don't want to like get in a shit ton of chips with middle pair there. So we turn a great heart here, and he checks again, and now I think you have to bet. I think he's got to have a hand that has some sort of showdown value, a lot of draws too. But I think we're ahead of him here almost every single time, so you got to bet it. You don't want to get raised, but you know, figure it out if it happens. The river has a king of hearts. That is a great card. So now there's only 2 hands that beat us. Queen high heart and an ace high heart, and jack 10 gets there, which is definitely a hand he could have, although he probably would have c-bet the flop with jack 10, continue bet the flop with jack 10. So anyway, he bets, and I think you definitely have to raise this for value. And it looks like I tried to, but I misclicked all of it in there. I wish that didn't happen. I wish I raised it to a smaller amount, but that's alright. If he had jack 10 or smaller hearts, then he's calling off and we're getting all of it. So it's not a terrible shove. I would have liked to see a little bit smaller of a raise, but then again, smaller raises look nuttish, and the shove looks nuttish. Any raise there is going to look nuttish, so I don't mind the shove, because if he has a smaller flush or a straight, he's just going to call or not. So I don't mind the shove, I guess, but it looked like I tried to make it a smaller amount. So anyway, with the NJCOP, we run 10s into kings. We had a stack where I think we just had to get it in with 10s there. Unfortunately, we ran into kings and we placed 35th or 37th. And that was that, you know. Not too deep of a run, but we were close. And we have one left, but we have a great stack in it, and we'll do our best and let the chips fall where they may. And my phone's just going to keep ringing all day, apparently. So I raised jack 10 under the gun, and this is a short-handed table. I take it down. We will be getting more aggressive now that it's the final table bubble. So we're going to be opening a lot, especially with our stack. We open king 4 suited here, and we get shoved on by the big blind, who has a reshove stack. That's okay. we want to try and see if these guys are willing to let it fly and reshove us before we stop raising them. If they prove a point to us that they're ready to die, then we might stop raising them, or maybe we won't. But gotta test them. We have Ace Jack in the big blind, which is going to get played one way or the other here. Small blind has a little over 20 blinds here. He's got 20 something blinds, so we're not getting rid of this. Yeah, I just jam these hands. 20 blinds effective. You could raise and try and sneak in a little more value. I just jam him. I don't think Ace Jack is a monster. Doesn't play like fantastic, so I just jam it 20 bigs. He'll wait. No, I remember this hand. He does not fold. Never mind. He does call here because this is the bad hand. He tanks here, and I guess he thought I was goofing. I guess he thought I was just, I did this to him earlier in the tournament with Ace 2, so maybe that's the thing. So he called with Ace 7 and hit a 7 on the river, which hurt. So that flip-flopped our chips there. So I was second in chips, and that was for the chip lead. And now I'm, 25 blinds-ish. So, that kind of stuff hurts, but it's just part of it. I do want him to call there. Every time I'm going for first, and you gotta get the chip somehow. So, it is what it is. Unfortunate. So here we're just gonna raise. We could just shove this because the big blind has whatever, but I think I'm gonna raise here and just fold to the small blind, but call off the big blind if he has it. That's what I'm doing here. And he has me dominated, and now he really has me dominated. So he beat me about 4 different ways on that hand. So now it's starting to unravel a bit, but you gotta try and keep your composure and realize that you're still in it. Just a double up away from being back to the top. So I get 6-8 suited here with 13 blinds. I think this is a better hand to shove than like Ace 4. You're gonna get most of the hands that call me are gonna be like Ace 10, Ace Jack type hands. 6-8 suited plays better against those hands than Ace 4. You will sometimes get called by a big pair, and that kind of sucks. But I like shoving those hands through about 3 or 4 people with under 15 blinds. I love shoving them way more than Ace Rag. I do hear arguments other ways. Some people like shoving the Ace Rag more because it plays better against big pairs, but I think the calling ranges are more big aces than big pairs. There's just more combinations of big aces. So we have Ace 6 offsuit here in the big blind. This could get interesting. We're probably going to reshove the button here or the small blind if they raise. But they had a feeling and they didn't, so they folded. Ace Jack with our stack. We are probably not going anywhere. The button. Does he raise? He shoves all in. I'm still not going anywhere. I mean, this is going to be a hand like King Jack, King Queen, 2s, 3s, 4s. It's never going to be aces or kings. Could be Ace King or Ace Queen, but unlikely. Those are the only 2 hands I'm really worried about. So he has King 10 suited, and he turns. We're not dead, but he turns the flush, and yeah, we're out. So T-Mac 15 got us good in this tournament. I hope he puts our chips to work. But yeah, that's it. That was just a deep run I had recently. It didn't turn out the way I hoped, but that's the majority of tournaments, unfortunately. So anyway, that was that. I hope you guys learned something, enjoyed it, watched me donk around a little bit, and stay tuned for the next one, and hopefully I can go deep and take something down for you next time. Alright, take it easy.